I recently completed an on-demand video on testing the EHA valve in the KE-Jetronic fuel injection system. It's a rather involved process. It takes you through a number of steps that you have to follow in order, but it does require a good volt-ohm meter or multimeter. Now this multimeter is perfect for testing KE-Jetronic systems. It has two things which you need. Number one, it has hertz for testing duty cycle, and it has milliamps for testing the EHA and other components in the system. You'll be surprised. A lot of times you'll think something's wrong with the EHA valve and the way the engine's performing or the way it's pressure testing. And as I found out in the 560SL, this was not the problem. It turned out to be the ECU control unit. And through a series of tests, I was able to determine that. So I didn't have to throw parts at it, even though I probably did. LOL. But during that testing process, I found that just having these probes on the leads that come with most multimeters isn't enough. In fact, it's very frustrating trying to hold these and do something with the engine, turn the key on and off. So what I did is I came up with some rather simple attachments that you can use to make it easier to do your testing. This first one is putting alligator clips on the tips of the test leads like that. How many times have you wished that you had some sort of clip that you could hold these test leads on with? You know, you're trying to hold them on and they're slipping around and they're giving you inaccurate ohm readings because you can't get a solid contact. Well, what's nice about this is, let's say you want just the negative lead and have the positive to probe around. Well, you can use this to ground, and then you still have the ability to probe this one without having to use a wide mouth alligator clip, because sometimes you need to go into a real tight location. Then along with the alligator clips, you need banana plugs to go inside the female connections on a lot of plugs. So what you'll do with this or any other meter is there's a little set screw on these banana plugs. So this gives you the ability now to expand the function of your meter by testing some of the plugs hands off. Here's a scenario where you're trying to test power. Let's say this is your antenna plug, and you're trying to hold the ground in here, and you're trying to move from pin to pin to see what readings you're getting. And you know, it's kind of hard. Now if you have to stop and turn something on, it's almost impossible. But when you attach the banana plugs to the end of the leads, this one here, let's say this one's ground, now you can just take your other lead and just plug it in and leave it. And you can actually plug it in and go flip the switch on the dash if you need that, and your leads are not going to fall out. Now I'm going to go over to the SL and show you just two locations where I use these special attachments. Let me show you where I use the banana plug attachment when testing the EHA circuitry on this 560. I unplugged the plug on the back side of this EHA, and then I had to test whether or not I was getting any power at all from the ECU, and look, I was able to plug these banana plugs in just like that, leave that like that, and go turn the key on and check. And in this particular case, I had a problem, and it showed up right here in this test. This coolant temperature sensor required a rather sophisticated test, and it was hard to get these probes down in here and make proper contact with these pins and get an accurate ohm reading. Remember, when you've got these probes kind of moving around and not getting a solid contact, you may not get an accurate ohm reading, and that's real important. So I went and got the alligator clips, plugged them into the ends, hooked onto that one. You have to be a little careful that you're not touching but in this case I was able to clip on to the 2 pins requiring the test, separate these. You can get a piece of paper or something to put between them if you're worried about that. But in this case, I got solid contact on those 2 pins to get the ohm reading I wanted. I'm so impressed with this digital multimeter that I'm going to go ahead and offer it for sale on my website. It has a wonderful display with nice bright numbers, large numbers that you can read. The sound is pleasant. And I'm going to include this set of 4 adapters to your probe leads, and I'm going to include the first training video I'm doing on the series on testing individual components of the KE-Jetronic system. I'll include that video for free with the purchase of this multimeter, and then in the future I'll be putting other videos up. So I want to encourage you, don't be afraid to go out and learn how to test your own KE-Jetronic fuel injection system. It's probably a good idea because it's getting harder and harder to find anybody else who will do it. But there's 2 things you're going to need right off the bat. You're going to need a very good fuel pressure tester to test the entire fuel system, and then you're going to need a very good volt-ohm meter or multimeter to do all the electrical tests.